Hey, well, it's me, Rick Clatfelter, and Matthew Sabo back again to do a little debrief, if you will, on the role play we did earlier. And want to thank Matthew so much for his time and energy, his brand partner, giving back as always. We're going to take a brief, maybe 15 minutes here, 20 minutes tops, to just review and debrief, kind of do a little second level training on what we did before. So I'm just, in keeping with our model from before, I'm just going to ask a couple of questions. We're going to let the expert answer the questions, and then all of you who get to review this later can learn from it. So let me just shoot with the first question. Matthew, on the video we did before, following the script and the outline, you did it perfectly. What would you tell people about being prepared before they make that meeting, that call?
Yeah, so preparation, I've literally started entire training modules and even named my business after kind of a quote that involves preparation. In sales, we have what's called step zero. And step zero tends to be one of the most important, steps of the sale, right? You've got steps 1, 2, 3, all the way to 8 in this case. But to me, step zero couldn't be any more important. Being prepared is all the way from waking up in the morning, doing affirmations, getting your head right for the day, all the way to wearing a button-up shirt, when you're doing it, because that's presentable. It's appealing to the eyes, right? Even symmetry is appealing to people. So, in meeting in person, it could be good hygiene, wearing a button-up shirt. If you're on a call, it could be, making sure that you have everything set up correctly. You've got all the links open. You have everything that you need to take somebody from the beginning all the way to closing the sale. That means you've got all the links open that you need. You've got your pen and pad ready. And once again, you're looking nice and presentable. One thing that I'd really like to point out that's super important in the be prepared process, Rick, is the part of actually the moments right before you connect with a client. I've literally done hours of training just on what I call transferring energy. And to me, sales is a transference of energy. It's a transfer of one feeling from one person to another. And so, I'll just give you one of the first lessons I ever learned in sales was actually for the be prepared step. I was actually, chasing. I was hanging on to the coattail of the best sales rep in the organization at that time, and just, hey, how do you do this? Why are you so good? And he allowed me to follow him around. And what I noticed is right before he would go meet a client, whether it was on the phone or shaking hands with a client, he would close his eyes and he would literally do this little form of meditation for about 10 seconds. So I really advise everybody right before they hop on a call to just take a second, take a few deep breaths, get yourself into a good space. So by the time you answer the phone or by the time you're shaking somebody's hand, they're feeling it. They're feeling good, positive energy from you. I actually tend to laugh. If you notice, on the beginning of that call, I laughed a little bit because I'm ready to go. I'm juiced up. I'm ready to be positive. And then, upon meeting somebody in person, they can feel that. They can feel it in person. They can feel it over the phone. So be prepared is a very important step for me, all the way from waking up, getting your routine in, dressing nice, being hygienic, all the way to even doing a little form of kind of meditation or centering yourself, if you will, right before you get on the phone or meet a client.
Excellent. That's perfect. Perfect. Thanks for giving a well-rounded response. I really like that point about, hygiene to mentality. That's perfect. So if we move into phase one there, or step one, it's the meet and greet, which again, you're an expert at. What advice would you give, or a little synopsis on the meet and greet section of our presentation?
Yeah, every good salesperson knows, just like everybody here, we brought you on because you're a great salesperson. And, every good salesperson should know that your meet and greet's your first impression, right? And I think the step zero, the be prepared, is really a bigger part of that meet and greet. Because if I'm introducing myself and I've done my job to center myself and be cool, calm, collected, happy, maybe even laughing a little bit, jovial, by the time I shake somebody's hand, once again, they're going to feel that. So the meet and greet's super important. In this case, in the script, not only are you meeting and greeting, but if you notice, I always, when somebody asks me how I'm doing, I always say I'm doing good. There's no other way to be. And I'm immediately instilling and it kind of subconsciously brainwashing the prospect, if you will, to know that, hey, there's only good vibes on this call. There's only positivity on this call. We're not going to get weird with each other. There's only one way to be. and that's to be positive and to be good. And then it goes into an expectation. You have to give somebody something to think about. You can't just go straight into your call and not give them a guideline for how the call is going to go, because you could be going into a warm-up or going into explaining something and they're thinking, how long is this going to take?
Yeah.
What are we going to do on this call? And so you're going into all these other steps and they're still thinking like, man, how long is this guy going to take? What are we even doing on this call? So telling them, hey, I'm going to, want to learn about you. I want you to learn about us. If at the end of the call, I hope this is a good fit for both of us. If it is a fit for both of us, then I might be able to make a recommendation. If you notice in that verbiage, I'm doing a soft takeaway. I'm letting the client know that, hey, this isn't all about you making sure that you like us. We need to like you too. And this has got to be a fit for both of us. Otherwise, we're not moving forward. And you're going to see these little minute takeaways throughout my presentation.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I love the way that that meet and greet ends up with a very soft, almost like a trial close. I may be able to make a recommendation. How does that sound? They're 99% of the time going to say, okay, that sounds good, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell me more. So then you move into the warm-up. What can you share with us about the importance of the warm-up or how to do that properly?
The warm-up is my favorite part because I owe pretty much all of my commissions that I've ever made to the warm-up to the warm-up process. The warm-up process starts pretty much from the beginning of the call, right after the meet and greet, right after you set expectations. Your warm-up starts and it never stops. That's one thing that we need to understand about a warm-up is that the warm-up is constantly kind of in the background. It's like the poster board to a painting or the canvas to a painting, if you will. It's always got to be there and it's always got to be fed properly. A warm-up is just creating common bonds. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because this is a subject that literally is probably the most important subject that we could cover. So we're going to do a lot of extra training on this throughout our training schedules during the week that everybody's involved in. But the warm-up in this case, you want to start just, being personable with them, letting them know that they're talking to a human being, and going, hey, even though we're going to go do all this and I want to learn about you, please tell me a little bit about yourself and your business. You're opening up for them to literally talk about themselves, but you're also bringing their business involved in as well. So they're going to start talking about themselves. Everybody wants to talk about themselves. Everybody wants to share about their kids or their cats and dogs or whatever. Make sure that you're being very mindful of the amount of time that you spend. If this is somebody that you feel is only going to give you 20 minutes, you don't need to get bogged down talking about their favorite cat. As much as they want to, you can use something very polite and say, hey, we could talk forever, but I want to make sure that we're covering everything today. It's a very polite way to transition out of a warm-up that may be lasting too long and back into your subject matter. But a warm-up is once again, it's riddled throughout our entire presentation. And in the presentation that you and I did, I would have typically warmed up a lot more. But being that a warm-up changes every single time and that you want to warm up to always be genuine, I didn't really want to expound and try to warm up in a role play because it's kind of disingenuous. It's not very real. And so we're going to train on this a lot, but you need to find as many common bonds as you can. I'll give you a really quick anecdote that really helped me, Rick. If you make them laugh, you make them cry, they buy. Super simple. If you can share with somebody at a deep level or find a reason to share with somebody on a deep level, they're going to want to share with you back. They're going to want to reciprocate that. And if you guys are sharing on a deep level, it doesn't matter what you sell them or what you have to sell. If it's affordable, they're going to be taking you serious. So if at the end of your presentation, for some reason you guys just aren't connecting, it's probably because your warm-up wasn't as efficient as you possibly could have had it. But once again, we don't want to get bogged down in it. We want to use that question, tell me about yourself, tell me about your business. We want to use that as an excuse to dive into warm-ups. And you can tell there's kind of some emotional pain points that I pull out. Hey, what is this going to do for your family? What would that mean for you? Why is that important to you? These are all deeper questions that have to do with business, but it also has to do with them emotionally. So I want to get them befriending me. I want to get them dreaming. I want to get them, basically realizing that we're two human beings and who knows, we spend some more time on the phone. We could be best friends for life. But hey, we've got some business to talk to. As much as we love each other, let's kind of get down to it. But the warm-ups, essentially all about creating common bonds. and all about making sure that you have a strong connection. If they don't like you, they're not going to buy from you. If they don't feel like they're close with you, they're just going to have trouble saying yes.
Understood and totally agree. Some people might feel, Sabo, that the discovery in the warm-up are kind of the same thing. How would you put a demarcation there between the end of the warm-up and then now the discovery process?
Yeah, I appreciate you bringing that up. A warm-up lasts the entire presentation, and it's all about personal common bonds. It's about emotionality. It's about dreaming and just sharing on very deep levels. The discovery is more about kind of the business, more of kind of the more surface area material, right? And really, I should say, just more of the professional life of your prospect, and really finding out the problems that you're going to help solve, right? So if somebody's sharing something deeply and personal with you that's in a warm-up, you're not there to solve that. You're just there to be a friend and share. But when somebody's telling you problems that they have with their business, then those are things that you're going to take, you're going to put it in your pocket, and you're going to save it for later. I cannot stress enough to not sell during the warm-up or the discovery, because the discovery, they're going to be giving you all the reasons why they should be buying with you. They're going to give you all the problems that you need to solve. And a new salesperson, somebody who's not very experienced, is going to immediately get excited and try to solve those problems. What you've done is you've taken them immediately back into business mode. You did all this work to warm up and get them to be a human being and to be emotional. And then if you start trying to solve problems in the discovery, they're going to go right back in that business mindset, and they're going to go, what can you do for me? Why are we here? And the next thing you know, they're deciding off of logic and not off of emotionality and logic, which is where you need them to be.
Perfect. I love it. Now, there's something called, at the end of the discovery, there's something called breaking the pact. Could you help us understand what that means and why it hits right now?
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up as well, because the break the pact with what we do is something that you need to do kind of gingerly. And in our script, I've got a few variations of it just because I want people, like I said, everybody here is a skilled salesperson. So I want everybody to be able to take some of my variations of a break the pact, and I want it to be able to make it their own. A break the pact conceptually is the fact that before they got on the phone with you, typically most people think about, hey, I'm not going to buy on this phone call. There's some sort of pact that they make in their mind or decision that they make maybe with themselves or with a business partner that says, hey, even though I like this guy and I'm excited, I'm ready for this meeting. It's nothing against our salespeople, but maybe, hey, I just have we naturally have defense mechanisms that we don't want to get sold something. I'm sure everybody can agree with that and feel that. So what a lot of people do is they actually decide before they even see a product or see a presentation, they've already decided whether or not they're going to buy. Most of the time, they're deciding not. Most of the time, it's just human instinct to say, you know what, no matter what they say, I'm not buying on this phone call. I'm going to buy at a later time, maybe, if at best. So what I want to do is I just want to bring that out. Really, the main purpose of a good presentation is to bring out a real objection and get to the root of it. So what I want to do is I want to hit them straight in the face and say, hey, to have success with your business, it takes time, money, and effort. And I know that you've heard a lot of salespeople, you may have heard a lot of marketing things, but if I can show you a way to do this, and this that you're trying to do, and it involves time, money, and effort invested in it, is that something that you're willing to do or open to move forward on? What I've basically just asked them is what you referred to earlier, is kind of a trial close, but it's also recognizing that, hey, before you got on the phone with me, you may have said, I'm not buying anything from this silly marketer. And it's totally okay. People do that. And maybe I'd be the same way. But what I want you to do is just keep an open mind with me as I share with you things that's really changed other businesses' livelihoods.
That's perfect. I love that. Just kind of hitting the nail on the head,
hit them right between the eyes, and people appreciate that. If you notice in my presentation too, I tell them over and over again, I don't care if you buy with me. There's two things that will really confuse a prospect and get them into a position where they feel comfortable with you. And that's one, making sure that you know that they care. And then two, making sure that they know that you don't care if they buy, that you're going to be just as successful. You're going to be just as nice and as helpful, whether they buy or not. And if you can take those two stigmas out of the presentation of, hey, this guy's trying to make me buy something, and hey, does this guy really care about me? If you can take those two stigmas out, you're 90% of the way to a sale.
That's perfect. That's perfect. So at this point in time in the presentation, we want to, build a little bit about who we are now, kind of telling our story, right?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
how would you synopsize, that section of the presentation?
So the story for the company, you want to have a base story, and in the script, we've given you a few kind of base models for you to present your story. But the key thing about telling not only your story and sharing with you about a little bit about yourself, it shouldn't take very long. Nobody wants to hear you talk about yourself a bunch, but to share a little bit about yourself and then to share the story of our company, it needs to be congruent with their dreams and their vision that they shared with you. So if somebody's telling me, hey, I really want time freedom or I want travel freedom, then guess what? Easy was created to bring freedom to business owners, just like yourself. So you want to make your story and the company story a little congruent with their story, with their dream and their vision, so they can see that, hey, we're all the same. And hey, this company is actually built and designed for somebody just like me. I want to travel. I want to have time freedom with my family. And this guy who works for a marketing agency is telling me that not only he can accelerate my business, but he's literally in business because he wants to give me time freedom. He wants to give me money and travel freedom. So once again, I don't want to get too far into it because we have it scripted for everybody to look at, but I do want you to know some important parts of the concept of it, which is just to make sure that they see a little bit of themselves in your story and in the company story.
Perfect. I love it. The congruency is a word that I love, and it kind of goes hand in hand with integrity, honesty. So I love the congruency of it. So now we want to share, what is our concept, right? What's the concept for the client? So could you expand on that?
Yeah, this gets me all worked up. Just because the presentation I've shared with you, we've literally done over $1 million in sales within months. With this presentation. And this presentation is really just geared to take anybody from beginning to end, whether they know anything about marketing, they're brand new in business, they've been in business for 10 years, it doesn't matter. It's a very simple format. And the concept that I shared is very simple. It's, hey, tell me something that's more important than marketing. You can't. There's nothing more important to a business than marketing. And then I'm going to tie them down on that. I'm going to say, hey, obviously, if marketing is the most important thing, then you either need to get an expert to do it for your business, or you need to go figure out how to do it yourself. Wouldn't you agree? So I'm going to not only make sure that they understand that marketing is the most important aspect, but then I'm going to close them on it. I'm going to tie them down on that fact, because if I can get them to understand that there's nothing more important than marketing, and I can tie them down on that, that's our concept as a company. That is our entire concept, is that, hey, if we make marketing easy, right? We make it predictable, we make it efficient, and you literally are, trying to drive a boat with one paddle on one side. You're maybe you don't even have any paddles if you're not marketing correctly, and you just want to make that very clear. And I think the presentation that I shared is really the most simple way to do it. It's the easiest way, just to say, hey, there's nothing more important than marketing. Go look at every business that's ever been successful. They're good at marketing. That's it. So you have to do that for your business, or you got to get somebody to do it for you.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And so in a roundabout way, once again, this is a whole concept of sales. I'm getting somebody to think and do what I want them to think and do without telling them to do it. I didn't say us. I just said, hey, you got to go get an expert, which is us, or you got to go do it yourself, which they don't want to do.
Right. Absolutely. So obviously we get to that point now where we're determining what the avenue of sale is. We're determining which direction we want to lead that client, maybe towards which product or products. Now, I know this section we could probably do a whole hour training on in just this one section, but how could you briefly summarize how to pursue the avenue of sale?
So before you get into a presentation, you should know your avenue of sale. You should not get into a sales call without knowing what you're going to lead these people to, because you're literally designing your presentation towards it. You're literally going to be doing a discovery and maybe dropping little hints on how to be successful with that. So you have to know the avenue of sale. In this script, the avenue of sale is number 7. And I want to make everybody clear. I want to make it clear to everybody, I should say, that number 7 can be replaced with any other script that you like. If you want to take out all of number 7 and you want to replace another sales funnel script in there, or maybe you're pitching SEO to somebody, then you can take an SEO script and you can put it in there. So we're going to provide everybody with quite a few scripts that are really good variations of selling a sales funnel, selling Facebook ads, selling SEO. Since, just like you said, Rick, there's a lot of stuff that we can sell. And there's a lot of details to go over exactly how to sell it and things you need to know. What I will say is know your avenue of sale. Know after you get that tied down in marketing where you're going to be taking somebody. So you can go, hey, this is how we do it. This is why we focus on marketing. And we take our focus on marketing, we take it to Facebook. Or we take our focus on marketing and we take it to Google SEO. So wherever you're taking these guys, you need to be able to know the presentation that I've shared. But then when you get to number 7, you just plug and play. You take another script that you like, or you take the avenue of sale that you're going to take people on, and then you move into that point. What I will say about that point is don't get too bogged down technically. If you notice in that presentation, I got a little bit detailed just because I wanted everybody to hear a full description of how to explain a sales funnel to somebody, but you don't need to do that every time. Some people not only understand what sales funnels are for, but also some people have no idea about any of this stuff. And the last thing that you want to do is start talking to them about pixels. So if you are trying to sell a sales funnel to somebody, and just like in the conversation that we had, I mentioned the benefits of a pixel, the retargeting of it. I mentioned that process, but I never said pixel, and I never explained to you how it works. The reason why is because if you don't know, you're going to be asking me about 15 to 20 minutes of questions about how a pixel works, where it came from, what it does. If you get somebody bogged down in technical jargon, they're probably not going to say yes to you. It's going to bog down your presentation. One thing that you notice when I present and even when I train, I continue to accelerate my level of energy, because by the time I get to the money part, I want them so excited. I want the conversation so energetic that they feel like, man, there's no other thing to do but to say yes. I'm pumped. I'm excited. I want to do this. And so I continue to kind of elevate the energy of the conversation all the way up to that close. And if we get bogged in technical stuff, then down goes the energy of the sale, the energy of the call. And now they're thinking all this technical stuff, and they can't make an educated decision on that at that point, because there's just too many things for them to think about. So make sure you have a good, clean cut avenue of sale presentation from the ones that we provide, and do your best not to get bogged down on technical stuff. It will kill the sales call.
Perfect. That's a great summary of that section. I appreciated that. And then that just takes us to kind of like the soft close. How would we wrap that up?
So I love the soft close. I've never used any other type of close except for just very rare moments, in closing somebody. If people are being super difficult, most of the time it's just a hard really, close is just not needed. One thing that I was trained by a very, very good salesperson was that people today know what a close is. They know what a close sounds like. They know what it feels like to get closed on, and it doesn't feel good to have somebody say, do you want to do this today, or to get, that's like a choice close to say, hey, do you want to do the $10,000 package, or do you want to do the $5,000 package? Which one works better for you? That's a choice close. People are used to that. It's one of my favorite types of closes because it's a very very normal type of, it's very conversational type of close. But what I love doing is I actually like to close on questions. I like to ask them, just like I did in the presentation, hey, do you have any questions over anything I've gone over? Because if I've done my job, they're either going to ask me a buying question, which means a buying question is, how would this work for my business? How explain to me more about why this would be so effective, or they're going to lead me into the money. Typically, if you've done a full presentation the way that I've showed you, they really have nothing else to do but to ask for the money. And to say like, hey, just like you did, well, I don't know if I can do all that. As soon as you're in the money, don't come out of the money. Stay in the money as long as you can, because that's what's going to get you a close. So really, that's the way I close. I recap benefits. I recap why I think that this is so important for them. I recap how much I care about their business and can't wait to see them succeed. And then I recap the price. And then I say, hey, but I want to make sure that it's a fit for you as well. Do you have any questions? And I want everybody to use this. I know this is a soft close and people are going, man, I did all this work. Why can't I hammer this guy with a good close? But I really encourage everybody to close with, do you have any questions? Because it's going to take all the pressure off them. They're so used to getting closed on. And that's the main thing that you could do, is to make sure that they don't feel pressured and that they are making an educated decision. They have all the material that they need in their mind to make a decision. And I'll even reiterate that to them and say, hey, my job is just to make sure that you can afford it and to make sure that you completely understand what I've gone over. So if they have some questions, then go back into making sure that they completely understand it, then recap the benefits and the price, and then ask them if they have any questions. I've literally had a guy say, no, I don't think I have any questions, but he just wouldn't get into the money. And I re-explained the benefits. I re-explained why I thought it was a great thing for him. And then I re-explained the money. And then I also said, hey, do you have any questions? And of course, when I did that, the guy was like, all right, let's talk money. And so, it's just a very genuine thing just to say, hey, I want to make sure it's a fit for you. Do you have any questions? And then if somebody's kind of teetering on the edge, they're just, kind of right there. What I love to do is to take them through the process of a close. I like to say, hey, if you were going to do this, then what would happen is that I would send you an invoice for everything right now. You look over the contracts, make sure that our descriptions, right? Because we don't necessarily have contracts. Make sure you look over the paperwork, make sure everything makes sense to you. And I'm going to be here to answer any questions. And then you would take action and you would pay the $10,500. Now, what I'm doing there, and I'll even tell them, hey, and then we're going to connect you with your project manager, and we're going to start strategizing on all these things and get these things ready for you so they start making an impact on your business immediately, as soon as possible. So what I've done there is I've just genuinely, there's nothing wrong with me saying, hey, if you did do this, I want to let you know how this is. I want to make sure that you're comfortable. There's nothing wrong with me going there. But what I've made their mind do is I've made their mind actually imagine the fact of them seeing a proposal. I've made them actually imagine what it would be like to take out their card and start putting in their card information. Because as you're explaining this to somebody, their brain doesn't have a choice to start imagining this stuff and to start putting pictures to the words. It's just the way our brains work. So it's a beautiful thing to really get people comfortable with saying yes and saying, well, I know what happens after this. I've seen it in my mind. And I've even seen me pull out my credit card or however they're going to pay. And it just makes them more comfortable with making a sale. And I even explain in that description about what it would be like to be with a project manager, to be with an expert that's actually going to solve your problem. So I bring it full circle for them.
That's perfect. Well, Sabo, I think you've answered all the questions I had pertaining to the script and the role play.
One thing I would like to add, I just thought it up because we're talking about closing. Yeah. While we're on the closing subject, Rick, I want to make sure that everybody is closing on a sales call, even if they're not getting the sale. You're either closing on a sale or you're closing on a follow-up call. Do not let that person get off the phone until you either have them literally putting money down and putting their credit card in, or you've closed them on a follow-up. And I mean an exact time, an exact date, and you get a commitment that they're going to be on that call. Okay, so I want to make sure that anytime you do a sales presentation, you've earned the right to close on something, whether you're closing on the money or whether you're closing on a follow-up call. And what I love to use is I actually love to leverage our project managers. I love to leverage our experts. So you can even leverage closers like me or Rick and say, hey, this is a case where somebody may not be completely comfortable. You feel like they're almost there, but they're not quite there. Or maybe they're asking some really technical questions that you just don't feel like you can answer properly. So what I always do is I say, I tell you what, I don't normally do this, but if I can get you on the phone with one of our experts, these guys only spend time with obviously paying clients, right? Clients of ours. But if I could actually take their time away from their day and give you, say, 30 minutes of their time so you can pick their brain, or you can talk to the owner of the company, or you can talk to my brand partner, or you can talk to my Facebook ads expert. But if I can give you 30 minutes of their time, knowing that their time is very valuable, and that call goes really well, would it be something that would that you'd take action on? So I get them to commit that, hey, I'd like to talk to an expert. I'd like to talk to somebody higher up to make sure that I feel completely comfortable. But then you close on that and qualify them and their money by saying, hey, if I do get you on a call with these guys and everything does go well, are we taking action? Are we doing business together? Do you have the 10,500 to put down? I would even qualify the money. And I would say, hey, I'm taking time out of my expert's days to have this conversation. You don't have to say yes. You could tell us no at that point. But if everything does go well, are you able to do the $10,000 at that point? Because I don't want to waste their time, obviously. Any good professional business owner should respect that, and they should be completely okay with that. So I appreciate you letting me add that, just a few little tricks.
No, that's perfect. I'm glad you did that, because that helps us understand that we're always closing on something. And even if we can't get it closed on the first time, maybe like we did in the role play, I needed to go for financing, so there was a little bit of an additional step required to make that decision.
Yeah, and if you would have squirmed on me, I would have closed you so hard on a follow-up appointment, right? I would have made sure, right? So there's nothing wrong with that. Business owners respect that. It's very easy just to say, hey, I respect your time as much as I respect mine, so let's make sure that we have a set time. So we're not trying to contact each other and go back and forth when we need to get a hold of each other. Let's just make a set time. Hey, you said you need some time to think about it. Great. Is 2 days enough? Let's talk on Friday. This is the time that you need to talk to your partner. Great. That's fine. Is this day enough? And make sure that you sound really busy. I don't care if you got the whole day open. Say, hey, I've got 2 times available. Does 11 o'clock or 1 o'clock work for you? If they say neither, say, you know what? I tell you what, I can move something around. What does work for you? Just make sure that your time sounds extremely valuable as well, even though if you got nothing to do that day.
Yes, our scarcity in our time. Yeah, definitely appreciate that. One of my mentors that I love when it comes to the money, just a comment, when people say, well, look, I don't have the money for that. They say, well, but besides that, if you did have the money, would you move forward with us?
Absolutely. That's, and I'm glad you said that, because that's called isolating an objection. That's basically making sure that you're down to the true objection. So if somebody gives you an objection, you say, hey, I understand where you're coming from. Let me ask you this. Is there anything else that would stop you? And so I'm glad you brought that up, because you want to isolate it. Once again, if you've done a great presentation, then what you should get at the end of it is either a yes, or you should get a true objection. A true objection is why they're really maybe not going to do business with you. An objection that's not true would be, something like, well, I don't know if I trust you guys, or, I don't know who you are, or anything. You just told them who you are, right? So if they start saying things that don't quite make sense, just know that it's either the money or you didn't make a friend, right? So, just once again, just know that it should always be down to the money at any point. And if it is a true objection, then isolate it and really solidify it and then solve it. And also, too, if they give you some crazy objections during the presentation, don't try to cover them there. Wait till the end of the presentation, because more than likely they weren't true objections. And if they were a true objection, they'll end up at the end of the presentation anyway.
Yeah, and we can cover them then. Well, listen, I think we probably hit our allotted time for this training segment.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of stuff to cover, and I appreciate just getting a nice little tip of the iceberg out.
Yeah, you bet. So you guys, there's going to be more of these to come. If you like them, give us some feedback on it. If you want us to dive into a specific area a little bit more and just have something you can review, give us some feedback. Go to your team leaders, go to your brand partners, reach out to us directly if you want. We're on Slack, we're on Messenger. Let us know what you were looking for, what you need, and Sabo and I can put our heads together and see if we can provide that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks for that, Rick.
Okay. Listen, we'll sayonara off of this call, and we'll talk soon.
Absolutely.